The purpose of this startup trip was to show the Frankies who they are by learning about the family that came before them and visiting the places they started up.
As we headed into northern England, we stopped at 3 beautiful old churchyards along the way. Each one was special to Ruby and Kevin's startup stories.
This is Ecton, England, and it's an American heritage site. Benjamin Franklin and his family are all from this area. In 1752, he came here, and it says that it was during a 5-year period. This is when Benjamin Franklin was about 52 years old. He was 70 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He resolved to trace his roots in England. It says he had an insatiable interest in his past. He hoped to, have that inspire him. So these are 2 of his ancestors' graves. These are the first 2 that he ended up finding. His uncle, Thomas Franklin, and Thomas happens to be your uncle.
What? That's amazing!
Thomas's father is John Franklin, and that's your direct grandfather.
Wow.
So Benjamin Franklin is
no
your first
idea.
cousin.
Benjamin Franklin
Benjamin Franklin is your first cousin.
is my first cousin.
So Kevin's royalty of Europe, your royalty of America.
That's why we're always fighting. Guess who won? That is so cool.
So when he came here, he thought of buying land because he realized this was the land of his forefathers. And he almost moved back here and bought land instead of founding America. So luckily, he wasn't inspired to stay here. Luckily, he moved back and created America for us. But again, when he was 70 years old, he participated in writing the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with a certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It says, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
I just thought we were stopping for an American history tour. Had no idea that had anything to do with me.
Johnny's mad driving skills kept us awake, and we only almost died twice. We explored these places to teach Kevin about his immigrant ancestors.
This was the church where his 4th great-grandparents were married, and this was the cemetery where they were buried.
The children of these grandparents were the first immigrants in their family. They left their country and set sail for a new land. The Find a Grave app is an awesome free app that lets you go into a cemetery and take pictures of the cemetery and then of the individual headstones. Because we had to travel across the ocean to come here to look for headstones, we don't have time to go through each one and see it, especially when some of these are pretty old. Can't see the name. Oh, you could do like a charcoal sketch. That was completely covered. I stepped on it, so I knew it was buried. But what would be very helpful is somebody who lives around the area, if they would come here and see what they could find and then go to the app and add it in the app. So what I'm gonna do here is take a picture of this cemetery because nobody's done that yet for this cemetery. All I had to do was turn on my locations and let it search where I am, and it showed me all of the cemeteries in my area. So please, if you live next to these beautiful old cemeteries, come and document them before they are totally destroyed by the weather. We continued north to one of my favorite places, Chatsworth House, and watched the amazing sunset in the Peak District. Chatsworth is Mr. Darcy's house in Pride and Prejudice, and the gardens and the grounds are my happy place.
Our next stop was Preston, England.
This is an important place for both mine and Ruby's ancestors. After the Church of Jesus Christ was established in the United States, they sent missionaries out to go and preach about Jesus Christ to the rest of the world, and they came to Preston, England. We came here because they stood on the steps of this obelisk, and it was from that preaching that my family and Ruby's family heard the message and got baptized.
So this is where our ancestors first heard the gospel that later led them to cross the ocean to America and then later crossed the plains and settled in Utah. It must have been hard to be willing to leave where you were from, to leave the country, to leave your culture, but you were doing it because you felt like you had found truth. And so, I mean, what does that say about them? What does that say about someone who would be willing to do that?
I think it says they're humble. What they heard changed their life, and it changed my life. And it brought them from this beautiful little square to the desert in Utah. And I love it. I love where I live, and I love my heritage, and this is one of the places it started, and it's just, I feel like it is a sacred part of my life, and it just connected me that much more to the people who experienced this and did this.
I want to go home and think more like, well, what would my ancestors do in this situation? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I have a little bit more of a cheer section.
Yeah, right.
I'm increasing my cheer section at home. The excitement that Kevin had yesterday and all the insatiable reading he did. And now I'm the one with the insatiable appetite with a mystery to solve.
Now we are in Avonham Park, this beautiful park, and it's along the River Ribble, and there's a monument here, or a little plaque. That's what we're looking for. We don't know quite where it is, but that's what we're looking for, that recognizes all of the people that were baptized here.
So you can see the little picture that I found here. We're looking for this. Looks like it has a little green fence and a little plaque. Somewhere along the River Ribble. Ribble. The first baptisms in England occurred on July 30th, 1837, where 9 individuals were baptized in the River Ribble in the presence of approximately 8,000 onlookers.
8,000?
2 of the male candidates, when they had changed their clothes at a distance of several rods from the place where I was standing in the water, were so anxious to obey the gospel that they ran with all their might to the water, each wishing to be baptized first. And it says that the younger, George D. Watt, being quicker on foot than the elder, outran him and came first into the water.
John Ashworth.
River
She does this. She does this.
John Ashworth Jr. and Alice Monks, his daughter, were also baptized in this River Ribble.
Alice was his wife.
Oh, Alice was his wife. I thought I had it. She is my great grandmother.
Got dunked.
Got dunked.
She got dunked right over there.
Immersed. Really grateful that I had warmed water. Hers was a much prettier setting though.
It took us like an hour to find these 2 things, and we walked right by them. We parked just right up there. Near this spot, July 30th, 1837, the first British converts to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were baptized by immersion in the River Ribble.
Between 1837 and 1987, over 20,000 Mormon missionaries labored in the British Isles in the service of their fellow beings.
We're here looking for an Ashworth, which is still part of my mom's line, and it all ties together.
1 minute walk.
Is this really going to show me right where to walk? Okay, that would be away from it. So this is to it. On Find a Grave, it had this cemetery listed. So somebody has gone through and taken photos of these and listed them. That's what we need people to do. And because they did that, they put a marker, longitude, latitude marker. So then I pulled it up on my maps and I'm following this. So it's looking like if I walk this way.
Did you find it?
It's right here. Are you serious? Okay, it led me. The map. What? The map showed me exactly. So we can look up a bunch of them. It's Thomas Ashworth. This is a relative. And that's Hannah Ashworth. And that's who we looked up. It says Betty Monk's.
Okay, look at the house behind it.
That's what we were looking for. It is getting dark so fast.
We went over to this cemetery to find someone in particular, an Ashworth. I love that you could go in looking for something and then come away with a little something unexpected. Good eye, Johnny. Good eye.
Okay, this looks like it. Yep. See?
I've never been so happy to skip through a graveyard. I can see why graveyards are so exciting now, because if you were to find John Ashworth, imagine how exciting that would be to see Betty and go, oh, there's a date. Yes. Oh my gosh, there's a date.
It was also my first time using the app Find a Grave.
So to add to the GPS coordinates that you just found, you hit more, add GPS. So now when you come down here, anybody that clicks on this will take them over to a map. And then when you get to the cemetery, it'll lead you directly to this.
You just clicked add GPS and it automatically
tagged it.
That's where you become the family Snoop.
Then you are the family
Then
Snoop.
you are officially the family Snoop. Find all the little pieces.
The scandal.
Next up, we go hiking through the scenic Lake District of Northern England, exploring caves and countryside.
Then on to see what Scotland can teach us about the Frankies.
Wait, I'm right-handed. We're in Scotland!
Oh shoot.